Imagine this. For the last 50 years, women have screamed from every rooftop, every classroom, every courtroom, every social media platform that they don't need men, that men are toxic, that masculinity itself is the original sin, that a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. They burned bras, they burned bridges, they burned every traditional expectation to the ground and danced in the ashes while telling men to stay far away and never dare approach them in public. And you know what happened next? Men listened. For the first time in modern history, millions of men actually listened, shrugged, turned around, and walked away. Now, those same women are flooding TikTok and Instagram in tears, mascara running down their faces, complaining that rent is too high, groceries are too expensive, inflation is crushing them, and there is no man around to help carry the load. They are calling it a crisis. They are calling the mass exodus of men a national emergency. And the wildest part? They still don't understand that this is the world they demanded, the world they built, the world they celebrated until the bill finally came due. If you want to know exactly how we got here, why men are never coming back, and what happens to a society when half the population finally says no more, then keep watching until the very last second, because by the end of this video, you are going to see reality in a way most people are still too afraid to admit. If you love hard hitting, no filter truth like this, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it. Hit subscribe, and most importantly, click the notification bell and select all so you never miss a single upload the second it drops. We are building the largest army of awake men on this platform, and I want you in it. Also, if you want to learn how to actually protect the money you are now keeping for yourself, how to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency the right way without getting wrecked, go check out Angry's Crypto Academy. The full academy is linked in the description below. Click it, enroll, and start safeguarding your wealth today because nobody else is going to do it for you. And if these videos are adding value to your life and you want to keep the angry guy caffeinated and firing on all cylinders, you can buy me a Red Bull through the link in the description. Every can keeps the truth coming. Now let's get into it. Picture a world where every day for decades, you wake up and the entire culture is telling you that your very existence is the problem, that the way you sit on a train is oppression, that the way you stand in an elevator is threatening, that asking a woman if she wants to grab coffee after you've been talking for weeks is now considered harassment, that paying for dinner, holding a door, or offering to carry something heavy makes you a controlling patriarch who needs to be educated. Imagine being told over and over that you are not needed, that you are disposable, that your natural instincts are dangerous, and that the best thing you can do for the world is shut up, pay your taxes, and stay out of the way. That was the daily reality for men in the West for 2 generations. And what did men do when the message finally sank in? They obeyed. They stopped approaching. They stopped simping. They stopped offering to pay for everything. They stopped trying to be heroes. They stopped caping for women who made it crystal clear they didn't want the cape. And now that the silence has settled in, now that the apps are drying up, now that the dates have disappeared, now that the free dinners and the Uber rides and the hey big head texts at 2 a.m. have vanished, women are suddenly discovering something they never had to think about before. Life is expensive when you actually have to pay for it yourself. You can't make this up. Grown women, 30, 35, 40 years old, are going live on TikTok literally crying because their rent went up $200 and there is no boyfriend or husband around to cover the difference. They are filming themselves in the grocery store showing a cart that costs $300 and asking where all the providers went. They are posting videos with captions like, I can't even afford to live. Who is going to help us? And the craziest part is they still have the audacity to act shocked, as if they didn't spend the last 20 years telling men to get lost. This isn't hyperbole. This is a observable reality playing out in real time. Every single day, another video drops of a woman saying some version of, where have all the good men gone? And the answer is simpler than they want to admit. The good men are right where you told them to go, away from you. And men didn't disappear. Men didn't die. Men didn't stop existing. Men simply followed instructions. You said, leave us alone, so they left you alone. You said, we don't need you, so they stopped showing up with their wallets open. You said, approaching us is creepy, so they stopped approaching. You said, paying for dates is sexist, so they stopped paying. You said, wanting commitment makes you controlling, so they stopped asking for commitment. You said marriage is a trap for women. So record numbers of men looked at the divorce statistics, looked at the family court horror stories, looked at the false allegations, looked at the believe all women culture, and said hard pass. And now the consequences are here. The chickens have come home to roost. The bill has arrived, and the card is being declined. For 50 years, women used every institution in society as a weapon against men. They used HR departments to get men fired for telling an off color joke in 2004. They used divorce courts to turn fathers into weekend visitors and lifelong debt slaves. They used Title IX offices on college campuses to ruin young men's lives with zero evidence and zero due process. They used social media to create viral shame campaigns over nothing more than a man existing in public while male. They used the media to paint every man as a potential predator until simply saying hi to a woman in broad daylight was considered risky behavior. And men watched it all happen. They watched their fathers get destroyed. They watched their brothers get dragged through the mud. They watched their friends lose everything because a woman got bored or angry or wanted a bigger check. And at some point, the pattern recognition kicked in. The risk reward math no longer added up. The juice was no longer worth the squeeze. So men did what any rational actor does when the game is rigged. They stopped playing. They took their ball and went home. They went monk mode. They went MG Tao. They went ghost. Whatever label you want to slap on it, the result is the same. Millions of men have quietly exited stage left, and they are not coming back. You see this in the dating apps. Women are posting screenshots screaming that they get no matches, while men are posting screenshots showing they swiped for 5 minutes and then deleted the app because it's a waste of time. You see this in the birth rates collapsing all over the Western world because men are refusing to sign marriage contracts that are written 100% in the woman's favor. You see this in the housing market where single men are buying small condos and cabins in the woods, while women are begging for government handouts because they can't afford the rent on their own salary. And the most delicious irony of all, the same women who spent years bragging, I don't need no man, are now reduced to making thirst trap videos with captions that literally say, men ain't shit, but I need one to pay my bills. They went from I am the table to can somebody please bring a table in less than a decade. Let me tell you a quick story that perfectly illustrates where we are right now. A buddy of mine, good dude, 6 figures, in shape, no kids, own place, early 30s, sent me a screenshot last week. He matched with a woman on a dating app. Within 10 messages, she sent him her Cash App and asked if he could help with rent this month because times are tough. He unmatched and sent me the screenshot with the caption, "This is why we walked away." That interaction used to be a once a month horror story. Now it's every single day for every single man who still dares to log in. Women spent years training men that their attention, their money, and their emotional labor are worthless unless they are willing to pay for the privilege of giving it away. And now that men have finally accepted the training, women are panicking because it turns out male attention, male protection, and male provision were never actually worthless. They were priceless. The panic is so real that mainstream media outlets are running headlines calling the male exodus a crisis of masculinity. Translation: it's a crisis when men stop doing what women want them to do. When men were slaving away in coal mines, fighting in wars, and dying 10 years earlier than women, nobody called that a crisis. But the moment men decide to work 4-day weeks, play video games, lift weights, and keep their money in their own pocket, Suddenly, it's a national emergency that requires government intervention. They are floating ideas like taxing single men extra. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Forcing men to date, creating government matchmaking programs, all because the idea that men might permanently opt out is unthinkable to a system that has always relied on male sacrifice to keep the lights on. But here's the part nobody wants to say out loud: it's too late. The trust is gone. The social contract is shredded. Men have seen behind the curtain and they cannot unsee it. Once a man hits that red pill moment where he realizes that 80% of women are chasing the same 10% of men, that divorce courts are a wealth transfer machine, that false allegations can end your life with zero consequences for the accuser, that believe women means evidence doesn't matter. Once he sees all of that, there is no going back to blue pill Disneyland. Men are not angry anymore. That's the scariest part for the system. Angry men can be negotiated with. Awakened men cannot. Awakened men are calm. They are at peace. They are stacking money, lifting heavier, sleeping better, traveling lighter, and smiling more. Because for the first time in their lives, they are completely free from the script that told them their value is in how much they can provide for ungrateful people. And women feel that energy shift. They feel the absence. That's why they're crying on social media. It's not just about the money, although the money is a huge part of it. It's about the silence. It's about opening the apps and seeing zero new likes. It's about going to the club and realizing the guys in VIP aren't buying bottles for random tables anymore. It's about looking around and realizing the wall isn't just approaching, it's here. And there is no soft landing because the safety net they spent decades kicking away is gone. Women keep asking in these tear stained videos, where did all the good men go? As if the good men were abducted by aliens overnight. The truth is much simpler and much more brutal. The good men are exactly where you spent 20 years telling them to go, far away from you. They are in the gym at 5 a.m., stacking plates and building the body you now say you can't find. They are in their home offices closing deals and stacking cryptocurrency you now beg them to send to your Cash App. They are on fishing trips with their brothers, on motorcycles in the mountains, in small cabins they bought cash with the money they used to waste on your birthday trips to Tulum. They are living quieter, richer, happier lives than most married men twice their age. And the best part is, they are doing it without a single argument about where the thermostat should be set or why they didn't notice your new hairstyle. And the silence is deafening to women who spent their 20s treating male attention like oxygen, something they assumed would always be there, whether they deserved it or not. Now the oxygen is gone and they are gasping. They post videos that say things like, I'm a high value woman, I have my own everything. Why won't men approach me in public anymore? The irony is so thick you could cut it with a knife. You told men for years that approaching you in public was creepy, that it made you feel unsafe, that you would film them and post it online with the caption, "This is why I carry protection." So men stopped approaching in public. Then you complained there were no good men on the apps, so men deleted the apps. Then you said you wanted to meet someone organically, so men went back to living their actual organic lives. And now you're mad that those lives no longer revolve around you. This is what happens when an entire generation of women confuses cause and effect. They genuinely believe men disappeared because men suddenly became low value instead of admitting the far more obvious truth. Men raised their standards to match the standards women kept bragging about having. Women spent years saying, I bring so much to the table: peace, loyalty, beauty, femininity, support, great credit, no kids, my own car and career. And men looked at average men and said, what do you bring? Men heard that message loud and clear, went away, leveled up in silence, and came back bringing exactly what women claimed they wanted: peace, money, options, muscle, passports full of stamps, and zero drama. And now that those same men exist in large numbers, women look at them and say, he has too many options. I can't trust him. Or worse, he's emotionally unavailable. Translation: he won't let me control the frame and treat him like a doormat anymore. Let me tell you another story that drives this home. I know a guy, we'll call him Marcus, 34 years old, software engineer, makes low six figures remotely, no debt, paid off truck, lives in a small mountain town. 5 years ago, he was engaged to a woman who spent the entire relationship telling him he needed to step up while she spent his money on girls' trips and the Stanley Cups. The week before the wedding, she called it off because, and I quote, I'm not sure you can give me the lifestyle I deserve. Marcus took the L, moved 3 states away, went full monk mode, and spent the next 4 years getting absurdly jacked, stacking crypto, buying raw land, and traveling South America on the cheap. Last month, the ex slid into his DMs with the classic, hey stranger, how have you been? Along with a picture of her crying about rent being due in 3 days. Marcus sent her a picture of himself on a beach in Colombia with a caption, living my best life, take care. That, gentlemen, is what peace looks like. Multiply Marcus by 10 million, and you start to understand the scale of what is happening right now. There are millions of Marcuses out there, quiet, focused, happy, and completely unreachable to the women who spent years telling them they weren't enough. And the women who burned those bridges are now standing in the ashes, holding a broken bucket, screaming for water that is never coming. The media keeps trying to spin this as lonely men playing video games in their parents' basements. That narrative is so laughably outdated, it's almost adorable. The men who walked away are not lonely, they are solitary by choice. And there is a grand canyon of difference between the two. Lonely men beg for attention. Solitary men have to beat attention away with a stick. Lonely men refresh the dating apps every 10 minutes. Solitary men deleted the apps 2 years ago and never looked back. Lonely men watch female streamers and send donations. Solitary men are the ones the female streamers are now crying about because the donations dried up overnight. Go look at any big Twitch streamer or OnlyFans creator who built her entire income on male loneliness. Their earnings are collapsing in real time. The top 1% are still printing money from the remaining simps, but everyone else is posting tearful goodbye videos because the monthly subscriptions fell off a cliff. Why? Because the men finally realized they could buy a used dirt bike for the same price as 6 months of her Patreon, and the dirt bike doesn't call you toxic when you want to ride on weekends instead of listening to her drama. Women never understood that male loneliness was the only reason their business model worked in the first place. Once men fixed the loneliness problem internally through brotherhood, purpose, fitness, faith, financial independence, the entire economy that was built on male desperation collapsed overnight. And now those same women are on TikTok making videos that literally say, I used to make six figures a year online. Now I can't even make rent. Where did everyone go? The answer is we went to the gym, to the gun range, to the crypto charts, to the barber shop, to the barbecue pit with other men who actually respect us. We went anywhere but back to you. And here is the part that keeps them up at night. Men are happier now than they have ever been. Actual studies, not opinion pieces, not Reddit threads, but peer-reviewed studies are starting to show that single childless men in their 30s and 40s are reporting the highest life satisfaction numbers of any demographic, higher than married men, higher than single women, higher than married women. Let that sink in. The very men that society labeled broken, lost, and immature are now the happiest group in the Western world. Meanwhile, Single women in the same age range are reporting record levels of depression, anxiety, and prescription medication use. The happiness gap between single men and single women has never been wider, and it is growing every single year. Why? Because men were never the problem. The script was the problem. Once men threw the script in the trash and started writing their own story, peace followed immediately. Women are still trying to follow a script that was written for them by people who hated men, and every page of that script is now on fire. Women were sold the ultimate fantasy. Have fun in your 20s, sleep with whoever you want, build a little career, travel, get the master's degree, buy the overpriced condo, and then around 35, flick a switch, and high quality men will line up to wife you up and pay off your debts and give you the wedding and the babies and the white picket fence. And for a brief window in the 2000s and early 2000s, that script actually worked for the most attractive 5 to 10% of women. But the rest of the population woke up and realized the game was rigged against men from the jump. So they changed the rules and walked off the field. Now, the women who followed that fantasy to the letter are standing in the wreckage, holding a degree that doesn't pay the bills, a cat that doesn't fix the loneliness, and a biological clock that is screaming louder than their denial. And for the first time in their lives, there is no cavalry coming over the hill. There are no white knights. There are no simps with six-figure salaries waiting to rescue them from the consequences of their own choices. There are only men who already learned the hard way that rescuing a woman who spent her prime years treating men like disposable entertainment usually ends with the rescuer being the one who needs rescuing later. And the coping mechanisms are glorious to watch. They went from "I don't need a man" to "where are all the good men" in record time. Then when that didn't work, they switched to "men are intimidated by my success." Then men only want younger women. Then it's because of porn. Then it's because of video games. Then it's because of Andrew Tate brainwashed everyone. At this point, they have blamed everything except the one variable that actually changed: their own behavior toward men for 2 straight decades. But the blame game can only last so long when reality keeps knocking on the door with overdue bills. At some point, even the most delusional person has to look in the mirror and admit the common denominator in all her failed relationships and empty DMs is her. And that moment of clarity is going to be the most painful reckoning in modern history. Because once the blame runs out, accountability walks in, and accountability does not negotiate. The reckoning is already starting, and it is beautiful in its cold, merciless logic. Women spent years weaponizing shame against men, calling them losers, incels, basement dwellers, small dick energy, man babies, anything they could think of to keep men in line, the men who dared to question the program. Now, those same men are living better than the women who shamed them ever imagined possible, and the shame arrow has reversed direction so fast it created a sonic boom. Go scroll through any major city subreddit right now, and you will see thread after thread of women in their late 20s and 30s posting things like, "I make 80,000 a year, have my own apartment, no kids, love to travel. Why can't I find a good man?" And the top comments, almost all from men, are brutally honest, because the men who match or exceed what you bring are dating women 5 to 10 years younger who don't come with the attitude. Or because we already saw what happens when we commit to women who think submission is a dirty word until the rent is due. Or the simple classic, "You're not a prize, you're a risk." Those comments get thousands of upvotes because every man reading them knows they are true. And for the first time in history, the comment section is no longer moderated by blue hair hall monitors who delete truth the moment it appears. The mask is off. The spell is broken. The matrix glitch is visible to anyone with eyes, and women can feel it slipping away the one currency they were told would never depreciate: youth and beauty. For decades, the culture lied to them and said, you get better with age like fine wine. Men were told the opposite, that they were trash until they hit 35 and suddenly became high value. So men waited, worked, stacked, improved, and stayed quiet. Women partied, traveled, collected bodies, collected handbags, collected followers, collected master's degrees in communications, and collected the applause of other women who were doing the exact same thing. Now the applause has stopped. The followers don't pay rent. The handbags are last season. And the men who were called trash at 24 are pulling up at 34 in paid off sports cars with 25-year-old girlfriends who look at them like they hung the moon. That is not a small thing. That is a civilization level reversal of fortune happening in real time. Think about how insane this is when you step back and look at the timeline. In 2015, you could still find mainstream articles telling women to never settle, and you deserve a man who makes at least 50% more than you. In 2025, those same publications are running panic pieces titled The Dating Market is Broken and Why Women Can't Find Good Men Anymore. 9 years. That is all it took for the entire narrative to collapse once men collectively decided the game was not worth the candle. 9 years to go from you go girl, make him wait, make him pay, make him prove himself to please, someone, anyone, just ask me out and split the check 50-50. I'm begging you. That is how fast an empire built on male sacrifice falls when the sacrifices stop showing up to work. And the coping is reaching nuclear levels. They are inventing new terms every week to explain away the obvious. Passport bros, when men travel to find feminine women. Height inflation, when men put their real height in profiles and women still swipe left. Situationship recession, when men refuse to commit to women who refuse to cook. Emotional labor shortage, when men stop listening to 8-hour monologues about astrology and childhood trauma on the first date. Every new coping phrase is just another tombstone in the graveyard of female entitlement. But the one coping mechanism that takes the cake is the sudden rediscovery of traditional values. Overnight, women who spent their 20s calling housewives pick-me's and stay-at-home moms oppressed are now posting videos in aprons pretending to cook steaks while wearing fake wedding rings and saying things like, I just want to be a homemaker for a strong man who leads. The comments are flooded with men writing, too late, sweetheart, and where was this energy at 20 bodies ago? And the ratio is glorious because men remember, men have receipts, men have screenshots, men have group chats where your old tweets live forever. You cannot spend 10 years screaming, I don't need no man, and then wake up one day and say, actually, I want to be a trad wife, and expect the men you spent a decade humiliating to come running with a ring and a mortgage application. That is not how respect works. That is not how attraction works. That is not how reality works. The window closed, the season ended, the game is over. And the scoreboard does not lie. Here is the part most people still don't understand: men walking away is not a phase, it is not a trend, it is not a negotiation tactic, it is a permanent civilizational shift. The men who have tasted peace will not trade it for chaos again, no matter how much makeup you put on the chaos and call it healing her inner child. Peace is addictive. Silence is golden. Sleeping diagonally across a king size bed you paid for yourself is priceless. Eating whatever you want whenever you want without a lecture about calories is freedom. Having every dollar you earn stay in your own account instead of disappearing into nail appointments and girls' trips is wealth beyond measure. Once a man experiences that level of tranquility, the idea of inviting a woman into it, someone who was trained by culture to see drama as love language and chaos as passion, becomes laughable. Why would any rational man trade serenity for probation? Why would he trade freedom for a curfew? Why would he trade disposable income for disposable accusations? He wouldn't, and he doesn't. And that is why the panic videos keep coming every single day. Another influencer who built her brand on Boss Babe Energy posts a tearful apology tour about how she took bad advice from bitter women and wishes she had listened to her grandmother. Every single day, another life coach who used to sell courses titled How to Make Him Obsessed with You pivots to selling courses titled How to Bring Him Back After You Pushed Him Away. Hard times are here. Jobs are disappearing fast. And if you lose yours, you could be homeless in a few months or even a few weeks. But it doesn't have to be that way. Check out Angry's Creator Academy and learn how to build your own online business using YouTube to grow it. And get the free creator blueprint when you sign up. The link's in description below. Go check it out now. Every single day, another podcast of women in their mid 30s sits around drinking wine, asking each other, "Where are all the men?" while completely ignoring the elephant in the room. The men are living their best lives and have zero incentive to return to a burning building just because the arsonists finally noticed the smoke. And the smoke is getting thicker. Rents keep climbing, groceries keep climbing, inflation keeps climbing, and male participation in the dating market keeps falling. Birth rates keep falling, marriage rates keep falling, and female happiness keeps falling. Everything that depends on male sacrifice is collapsing in perfect correlation with men discovering self respect. This is not random, this is cause and effect on a biblical scale. Let me paint you a picture of what the average awakened man's life looks like right now so you understand why there is no going back. He wakes up at whatever time he wants because he negotiated remote work or built his own business. He brews coffee in a kitchen that stays clean because only he uses it. He hits the gym or goes for a run while listening to a podcast that actually adds value to his life. He eats ribeyes he grilled himself for lunch while closing trades on his phone. He spends his afternoons fishing or working on his motorcycle or reading books he always meant to read. He meets his boys on Thursday night for wings, and zero women are invited because the conversation stays high level and nobody has to walk on eggshells. He goes home to a spotless apartment, plays Call of Duty or Elden Ring for 2 hours without anyone calling him immature, showers, and sleeps 9 hours in 800 thread count sheets he bought for himself. On the weekend, he jumps in his paid off truck and drives 6 hours to a cabin with a few brothers, no cell service, guns, whiskey, meat over fire, and silence that you can feel in your soul. That man is not coming back to save you from your 1,400 square foot apartment with the cat and the wine and the credit card debt and the regret. That man is not answering your "Hey stranger" text. That man is not sliding into your DMs to argue about why you deserve to be spoiled. That man has everything he was told he could only get from a woman: peace, freedom, respect, brotherhood, purpose, and he got it all by removing women from the equation entirely. And there are tens of millions of him now, growing every single day. The system is frantically trying to shame them back into the plantation. Articles calling them man children, psychologists diagnosing them with avoidant attachment, politicians floating taxes on single men, pastors begging them to man up and marry those single mothers. None of it is working. The shame no longer lands because the men it is aimed at have finally realized their value was never in how much they could sacrifice for women. Their value was in themselves the entire time. And once a man knows his value, he stops giving it away for free. That is the red pill that cannot be unswallowed. That is the genie that will never go back in the bottle. That is the revolution no amount of crying on TikTok can stop. The most terrifying part for the old system is that this revolution has no leader, no headquarters, no membership card, no protests in the street. It is millions of individual men making the same private decision at roughly the same time. I would rather be alone than abused. I would rather be single than scammed. I would rather keep my money, my time, my peace, and my sanity than trade them for the privilege of being disrespected daily. There is no figurehead to cancel, no organization to infiltrate, no manifesto to debunk. It is simply millions of men quietly choosing themselves. And in that quiet choice lies unstoppable power. and women can feel the ground shifting under their feet like never before. That is why the tone of the videos has changed so dramatically in the last 18 months. It went from smug, I don't need a man, I have a good job and good friends, to confused, why won't men approach me anymore, to angry, men have unrealistic standards, to desperate, please come back, I promise I'll cook and be nice. The 5 stages of grief are playing out in real time on social media, and we are somewhere between bargaining and full blown panic. Some of them are trying the anger route, posting things like, fine, stay single, see if I care, I'm happy alone with my dog and my wine. But the shakiness in the voice, the mascara smudged just a little too perfectly, the way the camera cuts away right when the lip starts quivering, those little tells betray the performance. Because deep down, they know the dog doesn't pay the electric bill and the wine doesn't fix the hole where a family was supposed to be. Others are attempting the seduction route, flooding timelines with sudden soft girl era content, long dresses, fresh baked banana bread, voice notes using the fake baby voice, captions like, all I want is a God fearing man who will lead me. The same women who 2 years ago were twerking on yachts with captions, independent queen, touch my body and catch a case. Now they are trying to rebrand overnight like a cryptocurrency rug pull team launching a new token after the old one went to zero. And men are looking at the new branding with the same energy you look at an ex who cheated on you and suddenly shows up with a Bible quote in her bio. Interesting marketing, still not investing. Because here is the cold truth nobody wants to say out loud. Trust, once shattered on that scale, does not get rebuilt with a few viral videos of you making sourdough. Respect, once withdrawn by millions of men simultaneously, does not return because you finally discovered modesty skirts. The damage done over 20 years does not get undone by 6 months of performative femininity. Men are not stupid. Men have memories like elephants and pattern recognition like supercomputers. You spent a decade training us to see red flags as parade banners, and now you are shocked we won't ignore the parade just because you swapped the flags for pastel pink. And the clock is not your friend. Every month that passes is another month closer to the point of no return. Every birthday after 30 is another data point proving the you get better with age marketing campaign was the biggest lie ever sold to women. Every new crop of 22-year-old women hitting the market with less baggage, less attitude, and more gratitude is another nail in the coffin of the strong, independent fantasy. The competition is not other 35-year-old women with master's degrees and cat collections. The competition is the quiet 24-year-old dental assistant who says yes, sir, and knows how to make biscuits from scratch. And that competition is winning in a landslide. Men are not asking for perfection. Men are asking for peace. And peace is the one thing the modern Western woman was trained from birth to see as oppression. Silence is violence. Submission is slavery. Traditional roles are abuse. So when a man says he wants a feminine woman who brings calm to his life, the average Western woman hears, I want you to erase your personality and be my servant. And rather than adapt, she doubles down on chaos because chaos is what she was rewarded for her entire life. Chaos got her the likes, the followers, the free drinks, the promotions at work, the sympathy from her friends. Peace never got her anything, so peace feels like death. That is why the rebrand almost never works. The chaos is baked in. It is who she became to survive the culture that raised her. And men can smell chaos from 3 states away now. We have become human smoke detectors for drama. And the moment we sense even a whiff, we are out the door before the first argument about the thermostat even starts. The result? A dating market that looks like a ghost town on one side and a feeding frenzy on the other. The top 10% of men are drowning in options, younger, calmer, happier women who watched the train wreck from the sidelines and decided to take a completely different route. The bottom 90% of men have either checked out completely or are pretending to be top 10% until they get caught. And the average woman is standing in the middle of the desert, screaming at the mirage, wondering why the oasis disappeared. And the desert is about to get a lot hotter because the economic pain that women are crying about today is only the opening act. We have not even hit the second wave yet. Wait until the layoffs really start hitting the white collar industries that employ most of these boss babes. Wait until the remote jobs dry up and they have to go back to commuting an hour each way for half the pay. Wait until the student loan forgiveness that never comes finally forces them to pay the six figures they borrowed for that gender studies degree. Wait until the credit card interest compounds and the car note is late and the landlord sells the building to a corporation that doubles the rent. That is when the real tears are going to flow. That is when I can't afford to live turns into I can't survive. And there will still be no men riding in on white horses because those men will be in their paid off houses in flyover country, grilling steaks, drinking beer with their brothers, and laughing at the TikTok compilations. Because here is the secret nobody wants women to figure out. Men do not actually need women to be happy. We spent 50 years being told the opposite that a man is incomplete without a wife, broken without children, a failure without a picket fence. And millions of us believed it, chased it, sacrificed everything for it, only to watch it blow up in our faces or slowly suffocate us to death. Then we walked away, expecting to be miserable, expecting the loneliness to crush us, and instead we found peace we did not know was possible. Women, on the other hand, were told they could have it all: career, independence, casual sex, travel, the corner office, the ring when they were ready, and that men would still be there waiting with open arms and open wallets whenever they decided to cash in their I'm the prize chips. And now they are finding out, in the most brutal way possible, that the chips were counterfeit the entire time. That is the real crisis. Not that men walked away. The crisis is that women actually believed their own marketing. They actually believed men had no choice but to accept whatever was offered whenever it was offered. They actually believed male desire was infinite and male forgiveness was guaranteed and male provision was a birthright. And now reality is delivering the most expensive education in human history. Some women will learn the lesson. A small percentage will swallow the pride, move to a lower cost of living area, learn to cook, delete the body count from their memory, find religion, or at least basic humility, and maybe catch one of the few remaining men who are still open to the idea. But most will not. Most will double down, triple down, blame men until their last breath, and die surrounded by cats and wine boxes, wondering where it all went wrong. And men will keep thriving. Men will keep stacking. Men will keep lifting. Men will keep traveling. Men will keep laughing. Men will keep living lives of quiet luxury built on the ashes of a system that tried to destroy them. Because the greatest revenge is not anger. The greatest revenge is indifference. The greatest revenge is happiness. The greatest revenge is building a life so good that the people who hurt you have to watch it from the outside and know they will never be invited in. That is where we are right now. Millions of men living lives of such profound peace and abundance that the women who spent years telling them they were worthless now have to make viral videos begging those same men to come back and save them from the consequences of their own ideology. And the men are not angry. They are not gloating. They are not even really paying attention anymore. They are just living. That is the checkmate nobody saw coming. And that indifference, that calm, quiet, unbreakable indifference is the blade that cuts the deepest. Because for the first time in recorded history, the average man is not reachable by shame, not reachable by guilt, not reachable by tears, not reachable by threats, and definitely not reachable by the promise of low effort, high maintenance companionship. The levers that used to work on men for centuries have been disconnected, cut clean, sold for scrap. There is no button left to push. The machine no longer responds. The dog has finally learned that the shock collar is powered by a dead battery, and now he just looks at you with a tilted head while you scream yourself hoarse, pressing the useless remote. Women are discovering in real time that male attention was never actually infinite. It was a renewable resource only as long as men believed giving it away was the path to happiness, sex, family, legacy, respect. The moment men discovered they could generate all of those things, or at least the ones that actually matter, without female approval, the resource became non renewable overnight. And once a resource becomes non renewable, the price skyrockets or it disappears completely. Right now, we are watching the disappearance phase, and that is why the videos are getting more unhinged by the week. The filters are coming off, the fake smiles are cracking, the I'm a queen, I deserve the world mask is melting under the heat of overdue bills and empty inboxes. You can watch the progression in individual accounts like time lapse photography of a flower wilting. First comes the confident, men are trash, but I'm still winning content. Then the confused, maybe I have too many standards content. Then the angry, all men are intimidated by strong women content. Then the bargaining, I'll settle for 50-50 if he's tall content. And finally, the raw, mascara streaked, I can't do this alone anymore, please someone help me content. And every stage gets fewer likes, fewer comments, fewer views, because even the remaining simps are running out of copium. The audience that used to cheer them on has shrunk to a handful of bitter girlfriends and thirsty dudes who still think leaving heart emojis will eventually pay off. Everyone else has scrolled past, blocked, or simply stopped caring. The algorithm itself is walking away. And society is starting to feel the earthquake. Daycares are closing because there are no babies. Wedding venues are filing bankruptcy left and right. Divorce attorneys are pivoting to conscious uncoupling retreats because the divorce wave is slowing down. Nobody is getting married to begin with. Therapists who specialized in couples counseling are rebranding to single woman empowerment because that is the only client pool left with disposable income and unresolved feelings. Even the government is starting to sweat. Politicians in multiple countries are openly discussing financial penalties for remaining single, mandatory dating apps, tax credits for marriage, anything to get men back on the plantation before the whole system collapses under the weight of millions of childless, debt laden, aging women who were promised the world and are about to inherit dust. But the offers keep falling on deaf ears because men have done the math. They have seen the spreadsheets. They have read the horror stories. They have watched their fathers, brothers, uncles, and friends get financially annihilated, emotionally destroyed, and legally imprisoned for the crime of believing the old contract was still valid. And every single one of them has come to the same conclusion. The new contract is worse than no contract at all. So they keep walking, they keep building, they keep stacking, they keep laughing. They keep living lives that make the old success script look like a prison sentence in comparison. And the best part, the absolute best part, they are doing it in total silence. No parades, no victory laps, no viral manifestos, just millions of men living so well that the proof is in the peace you can see on their faces and the money you can see in their accounts and the options you can see in their phones that never stop buzzing with messages from women who suddenly discovered manners. That silence is the loudest sound in the world right now. It is the sound of an entire gender collectively saying no without raising their voice. It is the sound of freedom. It is the sound of consequences finally arriving at the doorstep they were promised would never show up. It is the sound of reality reasserting itself after 50 years of ideological madness, and nothing can stop it now. Not the crying, not the begging, not the sudden flood of apron content and fake submissive voice notes, not the think pieces, not the podcasts, not the government incentives, not the pastors on Sunday morning begging young men to man up, not the mothers crying about wanting grandchildren, not the bosses offering family friendly policies that only apply if you actually have a family. None of it works because the trust is gone and peace is too sweet to trade away ever again. Gentlemen, if you are watching this and you have not yet made the decision to walk away completely, let this be your sign. Let this be the moment you stop negotiating with chaos. Let this be the day you delete the apps for good. Cancel the dates you already know will waste your time. Stop explaining yourself to people who never respected you in the first place. Your peace is waiting. Your money is waiting. Your sleep is waiting. Your happiness is waiting. And it is all on the other side of the word no. Say it once, say it clearly, say it without apology, and then never look back. Because the moment you choose yourself, really choose yourself, something magical happens. The noise stops, the guilt evaporates, the second guessing disappears, and you realize that everything you were told you could only get from a woman, respect, peace, purpose, joy, freedom, was inside you the whole time. You were just taught to give it away for free to people who never deserved it. Take it back. Guard it with your life, build on it, grow it. Share it only with other men who have done the same. And watch your life transform into something so beautiful that the people who hurt you will spend the rest of their days trying to figure out how to get even a tiny piece of what you now have in abundance. And that is the real red pill. Not anger, not bitterness, not revenge, just pure, unapologetic, unbreakable happiness on your own terms. And once you taste it, you will never ever give it up again. So let them cry. Let them cope. Let them blame. Let them rage. Let them bargain. Let them try every trick in the book to pull you back into the matrix. You stay free. You stay focused. You stay peaceful. You stay winning in silence. Because all roads lead to MWA. Men walking away that the war is over. We didn't fight it with weapons, we fought it with absence, and we won. Now go live the victory. What did you think about everything we just broke down today? Do you agree? Do you see it playing out in your own city, your own friend group, your own family? Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts. The rawer, the better. I read every single one. Like the video, if you like it, don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.